Well, it's week 3 already, and I'm seeing some really fascinating and interesting work so far, and all of your responses and the level of engagement with the material in this class has been amazing. I think I'm learning a lot about each of you as a writer, how you've been approaching writing, your issues with it in the past. I can kind of tell from how you've been responding to a lot of the questions. So that's definitely going to help me, target my my evaluation and critiques of your own writing as you submit some more things over the course of the semester. So for this week, we're going to get down to the nuts and bolts of science writing. The past 3 weeks, we started off really broad. I mean, like crazy, really broad. Trying to cover 2,000 years almost of scientific writing, and getting an idea of some of the things that are involved with that. A lot of you pointed out that things with conflict, the interdisciplinary nature of science writing, how that's been over the course of the history of science and science writing. So some really good characteristics some good patterns that you were able to see from all the science writing, all the scientists that you've researched. Some really good elements of synthesis. I think I've seen. And then last week talked about the genre in general and what it takes to at least to read a scientific article, or really, it doesn't really have to be scientific, but about anything really. And so what it takes to do that. Today we're going to look at, like I said, the nuts and bolts of writing. We're going to kind of take it apart just a little bit. So we're going to focus on revision and editing. Let me go ahead and type that down. Revision and editing. This will take us through, we'll talk about organization and style. These are the two big things that we're going to be going over, kind of overviewing. We'll look at different principles and techniques of organization and style, and then like we've been kind of talking about in the past couple of weeks, you're going to get a little bit of practice. We're going to look at some models, and you're going to imitate some of the revision and editing things that we do when we write something scientific. So we're going to get down, like I said, the nuts and bolts of science writing. And what this is going to do is this is going to set up, because we're going to start our major assignments next week. We're still kind of in the preliminary phase, building ourselves up to tackle some of these different genres of science writing. So we're going to start with some critiques and things of articles and essays next week, some more in-depth critiques. And so last week we were able to look at, I saw some really good summaries, some really good approaches to the Chapin and Franklin articles. And so next week, then, we're going to be able to not just do that, not just work on the summary and looking at the ideas and thinking about the ideas in the article or the essay, but when you add that to what we're going to do this week, looking at paragraphs and sentences, then we'll be able to make hopefully you'll be able to take that and then imitate it, model it in your own writing. So the big things this week: revision and editing. Let's make that big. Ooh, yes, okay. All right, that's kind of big. Revision and editing. So revision and editing are not the same things. Okay, revision. When I'm talking about revision, I mean these are the large, for lack of a better word, large issues in a text. These could be that has to do with your ideas, organization, research. The big, huge things. Editing, or what Anne Lamott calls like the dental issues. The small things, words, sentences, punctuation. We might even include something like style to an extent. In that, where each word, each sentence is like its own little tooth. its own little tooth. And that's why it's called like the dental draft. The editing draft is the dental draft, which I kind of like, where you're checking every tooth to see if it's healthy or decayed. So we're going to look at revision things first, and then we'll go through some examples, and then we'll look at editing stuff. So the first thing is that revision is writing. We have this idea, we kind of touched on it a little bit last week, that this product that you see, this article, this book chapter, that is it. That is what was written. But one thing I really like that Scott Montgomery says about all writing is that all writing it hides our failures. It hides the revisions that we've done. So know that revision is a part of writing. It is. You cannot write without revising. Okay. So to achieve, we'll talk about. Let's see. So first thing is organization. So to achieve a high level of organization in your writing, in order for your writing to succeed, you need to learn to revise your work. When writing goes out, when you have sent it to your professor, when you have sent it off to your colleagues, guess what? You no longer control it. Your written thoughts are available for unlimited close analysis. What you have written kind of operates on your behalf in your absence. So good writing can reduce a great volume of descriptive and analytical details to very refined, closely reasoned arguments. The finished document must be clear, it must be accurate, and it must be consistent. So let's put this up here. So your goal in revision, your goal is to make your writing clear, accurate, and consistent. All right, those are our golden rules for your writing this semester. You're going to be writing for clarity, for accuracy, and that your writing must be consistent, because you are not going to be personally present to fill in the gaps, to correct errors, to correct inconsistencies. Your writing has to speak for itself, and it speaks for you. One of the first things that we do to try to improve the substance of our writing is with organization. Now, when you're revising your organization, you must approach this with an open mind. Okay, be prepared to fail. Right, that's another one of our mantras in this class, is to be prepared to fail. So one, your organization needs to reflect your goals, and it also needs to reflect the needs and interests of your readers. So that's what you're doing when you are organizing a paper. You're organizing a paper not just for you, right? Not just to satisfy your purposes, but whoever your readers are. You've got to understand what they need, what they expect, and what they're interested in. Whether it's a professor or a colleague or a supervisor, a journal or a magazine that you're submitting work to, they all have, different things that they're going to be concerned about. So what organization helps us do, let's start a bulleted list. There we go. All right. One is it helps us, clarify our logic, our logos, our logic, our reasoning. So here's a question. Why isn't this? Here's a question that might help you. Will adding, deleting, or rearranging the material that you've written strengthen its logic?